Hello, my name is Everett, and this is my little excuse me, online tutorial on doing scenery using extruded foam. I've been into model railroading since I've been 8 years old, and just recently made the switch to N scale. And techniques I'm going to show you, at least these ones I've been able to figure out that have worked for me, are applicable to any scale you happen to be modeling in. So hope this can be a source of useful information for you, give you some inspiration on what you can do. Or my techniques aren't necessarily the end-all. It's just my way of doing things, and feel free to modify or enhance or make changes as you see fit. So I hope you enjoy watching these short little movies I'm going to be posting courtesy via YouTube, and hope you can get more fun out of your model railroading experience. Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is get a hold of some foam. This is the 2-inch thick extruded foam, and you should be able to get it at any home improvement center like Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards. Might be a little bit more difficult to get your hands on it if you live in a more temperate climate here in the States, but for the most part it should be readily available. Comes in various thicknesses. This is a 2-inch thick foam. This is a 3/4 inch, and it comes in 4x8 sheets. And I'm thinking also make 5x9 sheets, but 4x8 sheet should be enough, depending on how much scenery you need. Usually runs about $15 or $16 for the 2-inch thick foam. And if you don't need to do that much foam scenery, then you could possibly go do some dumpster diving near some construction sites and grab a hold of whatever scraps they have and use that to build up your scenery. Now, the kind of foam that you don't want to use is this white 3/4 inch foam, and I think it also comes in 1-inch thicknesses. This is a very light foam, and it's not going to give you the kind of texture you'd be looking for if you want to model rock formations in foam. And for general scenery purposes, it's just you just create these little beads, and that isn't going to look right if you use this. Next items you're going to need to get are some tools for cutting your basic shapes out, basic pieces for gluing in place. This is a drywall saw. You can pick that up for $5 or $6, or maybe even less. And if you don't even want to do that, if you have a spare hacksaw blade lying around, that works just great too on the foam. That'll cut it up pretty quick. And then, of course, there's the old standby, the utility knife, but this won't do you much good if you have foam that's thicker than 3/4 of an inch. Next items you'll need are some basic tools for just shaping your foam and cutting out rock formations. And I'm bringing the old standby here, the drywall saw and hacksaw blade. These work really well for doing stratified rock or sedimentary rock. Just cut horizontally along the edge, and you get that stratified look. And then I consider a Surfoam rasp a must-have tool for doing basic shaping and contouring and smoothing down some of the rough areas. And then for other tools, pretty much the sky's the limit here. I use this metal ruler to tear at the foam and cut out grooves and valleys and rock formations with that, and a screwdriver and a putty knife. So any implement you have at home that's fairly sturdy. You could use a pocket knife, a hunting knife, a kitchen spoon. Make sure it's not the White's Good one. And you can also use a hot wire foam cutter. I got this at Hobbytown for 25 bucks, but haven't really used it that much just because I found using these other implements here got the job done a lot faster. Okay, next on your shopping list, you're going to need to get some glue, and I use the liquid nails for projects and foam board, and works really good. Doesn't give off a lot of fumes, safe to use inside, and it's safe to use on foam board too. Won't melt the stuff after you put it on. Another item you'll need to get is some paint. Flat latex wall paint will do the trick. Get the cheapest stuff you can, because you're going to be covering it with scenery and acrylic washes, so it's not going to matter. You don't need the high quality stuff. And I use a light base, light brown, and what base you use depends on the kinds of rock you're modeling and the kinds of scenery. You may want to use a light flat gray base, because you're always going to be darkening it up with the acrylic washes you put on it, so it's always better to start with a lighter base than with something darker. And of course, if some things don't turn out the way you want them to, you can always go over the scenery with the paint again if it doesn't, the washes don't work out and it doesn't look the way you want it to. Another item you'll need are some weights of some kind. Either some bricks, or maybe you have an old set of weights from your exercising days. Hopefully you still are. And you're going to need to weight the layers of foam down so you minimize the gaps between the foam layers. I mean, helps them bond together better, obviously, but you want to try to create as few gaps, or leave as few gaps between the layers of foam as possible. And in case you end up leaving gaps, or the lines between the foam layers show up, you get some lightweight spackling. And I'll show you how I use that to disguise the layers of foams with this, but this comes in handy to cover a multitude of sins. Next thing you're going to need to get is some acrylic paint. This is burnt sienna, and this is burnt umber, and this is black, and I also have some raw sienna here. And the colors that you use, of course, depend on what region you're modeling, what kind of rocks you're modeling. And what I do is I put some paint in these spray bottles and add some water to dilute it. And then after I paint the base coat and let that dry, I start spraying on the washes, and that starts to gradually color the rocks and give the coloring I'm looking for. And I couldn't tell you what ratio I've diluted these. Probably the best thing you could do is to take some pieces of foam, glue some chunks together, and just carve some rock strata out and do some experimenting and find out what works best for you.